Here's a sneak peek at the next step in the coolant sump restoration project for the Monarch lathe. I've got the pump out and apart for the mostly, but there are some problems here. I did order a new seal kit. Obviously that one's trashed. Still need to clean up the impeller housing. And the big problem now is this cover is completely locked in solid with that street elbow. And I've wrenched on it and cranked on it and beat on it and torched it and penetrating oil, and just nothing has worked so far. So I'm gonna have to cut that thing off and then bore it out. And then probably the same thing will have to happen on the impeller housing, or the pump housing, with that fitting there. That is the, so this is the pickup from the sump, and then this is the output of the pump. So anyway, just to give you a little look there, but while we're waiting on some parts, we're gonna be doing something a little bit different today that I've already done once before and have shown on Instagram and shown the results of on YouTube, but not doing it. This is my go-to CNMG turning insert holder. I put a dovetail in this thing a while back to help me solve a couple of problems. First of all, this is extremely rigid given that it mounts directly to the tool post. And as you can see, I've milled out the bottom, and then with that dovetail, it has allowed me to get this down at a proper height. There you can see the Kennametal number. So this is an 1.5 inch tool holder, and I got it brand new on eBay for pretty cheap. That's not a size that most people can use on their lathes, and so they often don't go for big money. I think brand new, that holder is over $100, and got it for less than half that. So anyway, that tool does a great job for me, and as you can see, it's already getting kind of worn. And what we're gonna do, add to the collection here with this guy. Same story, used on eBay, or I'm sorry, found on eBay, but never been used. And this is a Kennametal CNMG 643 holder. Also 1.5 inch shank. The plan is the same. We're gonna put a dovetail in the back of it. The one thing we're not gonna do is add a adjusting nut and stud like this, because there's not really a reason. I mean, this is still gonna be my go-to tool. These big inserts are too expensive to be using on every single project, but they do a fantastic job when you need to really remove some metal. And if we're gonna be doing that, it's probably gonna be in quite a few passes, and it's not gonna hurt to manually, adjust this to center height. If that part's a little bit slow, it'll save us in, $12 worth of parts from Aloris, because I like to use the genuine Aloris parts, and then turning that stud down was a little bit of time. So anyway, we're just gonna leave it with a dovetail in it, and then it'll be ready to rock and roll. But just to show you kind of the difference in size. So most people know about 432 inserts, or four seat inserts. And then you've got 6, and then there's even bigger, which is the 8. And those guys look really monstrous when you see one of those in person. So I don't have one, but if you do see one, you'll know it when you have it in front of you. So anyway, 4 seat is a good size for most things. You can take fairly deep cuts with it. Most people don't use anywhere close to the turning capacity of those inserts. So if you're buying new, it makes a lot of sense to go for like a 332 or a 331 insert. It just saves you on carbide. Smaller pocket, which is in a smaller tool holder, and you're paying for less carbide, which is the expensive part, which is again the same reason why I'm not going to be running this very much, except in cases of really heavy turning. And to that end, this is a KCU 40B insert. So that's the Kennametal grade, ideally for roughing, taking big chunks of steel. So the KC is Kennametal coated, and then the P is the ISO code for steel. And then the 40 is the toughness grade. So it's up as opposed to like a KCP 10, which is not going to be as tough, but it will be a little bit better at chip resistance. So anyway, there's the idea. So I'm going to take that insert out so we don't accidentally bang it on something, and we'll go over to the mill. Actually, we're going to go, we'll have to decide exactly where we want that dovetail. There's no prescription on this, so we'll have to just kind of decide. And then once we've got that done, I think all I'm going to do is just scribe a line on the top of the tool post, and then we'll take it to the mill that out with an end mill, and then cut the dovetail with the dovetail cutter. So all I did was went over to the tool post on the lathe and put the compound in its 90-degree position so that I have the most strength running it that way, or I think I do anyway, I'm not really sure, but anyway, and then just kind of line this up where I would still have clearance for the tool and have it in the strongest position possible, so the end of the compound is basically right here. So in my mind, that should give me enough room to swing whatever, use the tool and have it as, you know, as close to the insert as possible. So that gives me an idea where I want it. And then to kind of make my mark, I'm just going to use, this is my cleanest, newest Aloris brand tool holder. So this doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but we do want it to be close. So I've got a couple of blocks here. What we'll do is line up against them the holder and the insert holder. Okay, so my new holder is free to move, but the Aloris holder is not. Just trying to get where my Sharpie marks are gonna exist on here. Okay, so we'll go like that, and then just use a scriber. Hopefully the black oxide on the Kennametal holder will leave me visible marks. This is just how I did it on the other one, so I don't see why it won't work well. There we go. Should give us enough of a line to cut out the right part of the tool. Okay, we dialed in 100. We're about in the center here. The tool can actually take a whole lot more than that, but we're just gonna go with 100 for now. Ooh. That doesn't sound very good. Well, okay, now we got something open there. I'm just unhappy. Here's the first use of our mini cool and indicator holder for NogaCool. I've used it several times for an indicator, but this is the first time getting the juice out. So far so good. Getting it set up was a breeze. We'll have to see how well this cutter does. I'm not holding very high hopes given how hard this thing was. The first time I did this, I did not have screaming carbide problems like I did today. So we'll cross our fingers and do what we know best to do and then see what happens. Yeah, not sure. Yeah, that turned out good. So we'll go over and do the other side. And yeah, we may just do one cleanup cut on each side once we're happy with the bottom and the side. Okay, time to pop it out and then we will deburr it and see how it fits. What's not to be happy with? Looks pretty good. So before we put this in the tool post though, we've got to do one other thing. And I hate to do it, but order of operations and all. Get it in there tight. So this is 4.5 inches by, I think it was 10. Yeah, it's gonna be 10. 6 plus about 4. So 4140, supposedly annealed. So I don't know if that's true. It may be pre-hard, it may be annealed. We're gonna be able to tell when we start cutting it, I would think. Oh, I did pretty good. It's less than 50. Minus 17, okay, we'll call it good there. Just crank down on all 4 jaws nice and tight. Don't want this sucker coming loose. Okay, so it took 2 more passes in the dovetail to make a really, really nice fit. Just a little bit of weeble wobble. And there we go. Hadn't locked it in until just now, so glad that didn't blow up in my face. All right, so we've got the lathe in gear for 287 RPM. Should be plenty of SFM. Still dancing around the chip pan here. So let me move the tripod over and we're gonna see what this baby can do. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am more than a bit nervous. Okay, that guy seems to be in there well, and actually, I'm gonna wimp out a little bit. Let's start it a little slower. Okay, so that's only like 107 RPM. Let's see what it looks like. Hopefully nothing bad happens. Gears are in place. Mama's on speed dial. All right. Looks like it's running okay, doesn't it? Oh boy. Okay, there's the top of the scale. Rusty crud. So, I think the maximum depth of cut on this insert is something like 3/8 of an inch per side. So, why don't we take a 1/2 inch off the diameter of this material. Oh boy. Yeah, the camera can't really see that. And hopefully we don't get a camera lens full of chips. 3, 2, 1, here we go.